everyone, and welcome to our circle and Salve Women. Today for my one-on-one, we are going to really discuss F equals M times A. Force equals the mass times acceleration. And you are probably thinking, why does she keep mentioning that? And I have the tendency to just be an oddball in really analogizing life and life's constraints, or how life works and how it seems to work and so forth. And so we are going to equate this, or really take it into perspective philosophically, in understanding it as your life's forces that are working against you, so that you know how to overcome and therefore be victorious of those moments where you feel like everything is against you, when it really doesn't have to be. So in my article, I mentioned to you that there are the 3 laws of physics by Sir Isaac Newton. And you have to understand that the first one is dealing with, hey, you know what? Nothing moves unless there's force acting up upon it, right? You know, it's essentially everything is idling. If you are actually alive, if you have a pulse, then that indicates that you are not moving. You could be sound asleep, and yet you are still functioning. There's still a life within you that is saying, okay, this person's going to get up and eventually do something. So when you are immobile, then that means there's no movement. Doesn't mean that you are dead, that you are lifeless. In that case, you would have no pulse. So for that first law of physics, it means that unless there's some type of force working against you, then that just really means that you stay unchanged. So with the second law, the force equals mass times acceleration, there's a force movement. And so in that case, there had to have been something that got the ball rolling. Now, whether or not you tipped the table, where you see a tennis ball on the table and you tip it, then all of a sudden you see the ball rolling. I recall a man who was actually doing some work in a home had stated to me that if you ever want to know the foundation of a home, you put a ball in the middle of the floor. If it starts to roll, then you know that that foundation is not good, because obviously, you know, when the ground has settled, then if there's no, the ground is not leveled, it's going to roll one way or the other. Makes sense, right? So there is that gravitational pull that the earth works upon, and that is why when we jump, we go back down. We jump, we go back down. Or, you know, if a ball is rolling, it's going to roll. It's just going to roll. Unless there was yet another type of force working against it. And that is the third law of physics by Sir Isaac Newton. And that is really stating that if then something is trying to stop it, it has to go in the other direction. It has to be its opposition. So think about that in real life. I don't know how long this is going to be in you know, with me. I just go roll with it and be as transparent in my mind as I possibly can be. But you have to think about that when there's opposition in your life. You really have to think about when you didn't get that job, when you didn't get that promotion, when you didn't get that life that you see someone else have. You cannot all of a sudden be ingrained with all of this bitterness, with all of this, oh goodness, such a strong word, hate, because all of a sudden someone else took the lifestyle that you wanted, or took the job that you could have had, or took the promotion that you could have had. Now, when I then connect it with the force equals mass times acceleration with the wind, the article that I had stated was, be a wind catcher. I mean, essentially, if you are working against the wind, anyone who's ever had to run, when you know that the wind is going in the wrong direction, not only does your hair feel just incredibly messy, you don't even have to look in the mirror, but you know that your face, everything is being pulled the opposite direction. It's just not pretty. It's ugly, if anything. And so in life, you know, when you've had some major challenges, you don't even have to look in the mirror. You already feel defeated. You already feel let down. You already feel drained and withdrawn. And because you have been working against so many forces against you, rather than taking a moment to go, how do I work this toward my advantage? So in my article, I had stated as, be a wind catcher. Be a wind catcher, just like in the movie Moana, when Maui taught her and gave her some advice on how she should be able to sail her boat. That, you know, she learned to master it so that she could get to her destination. Of course she was afraid. Of course she was uncertain. Of course there were doubts in her mind how she was going to get there, if she was going to get there. But because of her determination, she then went forth and just fought through all of those fears, all of those it's all of those doubts in her mind because she knew she had to get to where she wanted to arrive. And so that is how you have to look at life. You cannot say, you know what, I didn't get that job, or I didn't get that promotion, I didn't get that life, so you know what, I'm just going to be bitter. And subconsciously we say that to ourselves. We may not openly say it, but it's in our actions, it's in our words, the things that we start to instill in people around us. All of a sudden we are then sowing some bitterness into other people, because in our minds we're thinking, you know what, if failure happened to me, then I'm going to only prepare others around me to fail, because that's all I know and that's all I'm going to be about. And so therefore there's my expertise, and so I can at least speak on that behalf. And at first may act like, okay, I'm going to be, you know, talking to you about what you should do and what you should do. In the back of your head you already know, who am I to speak? I have never arrived. I've only been idling all my life and acting like a busybody, but I've never arrived. And so when I say be a wind catcher, what I'm saying is be thankful. There are multitudes of wind always coming through. So what, you didn't get that job? So what, you didn't get that promotion? So what, you didn't get that life? It doesn't mean that there's not another one coming around. And perhaps you went through 10 different attempts or more, you know, to get to where you want to be. And you had been fighting so many days, so many weeks, so many months, so many years, to a point where you feel like defeated and that you no longer can continue. And then all of a sudden you're surrendering to this bitterness within you that is telling you, you know what, you were never made to be. You were never made to arrive. And that's what you're feeding yourself, and that is what you're actually, you know, reaping from all of that, those bad thoughts, those bad feelings, that mentality that you have now fed. And guess what? That is what you are feeding everybody else around you as well. Rather than from the beginning, or not even the beginning, if you went through all of those challenges and you were defeated, that tenacity in you, that resilience to go, hold on, what could have I done to have gotten that job? What could I have done to have gotten that promotion? I remember the very first time that I was teaching and I had taken on a very short, what they call a long-term substitution, because you had to, I can't remember, I think it was like 3 weeks to a month of covering this class. Didn't ever have any guidance on how to actually teach the position. It was more of an emergency, so I didn't have anything up my sleeve. I hadn't built up a repertoire at that time. There were no skills within me to teach, even at that grade level, because I had not ever been having that experience in the past. There were none. And so I went in just knowing that, you know what, I can do this. I can improvise and I can just go off with what I know and just go on. There were no curriculum. You know, and you tell me, putting yourself in the sea without knowing how to swim, you will learn how to swim. And that's exactly what I did. However, that position then became open. And teachers like, you should apply. I honestly knew in my heart that I was not going to get that. Well, no, correct me. Okay. I had the confidence to know that yes, I should get the job. The arrogance, you could call it, and thinking, you know what, wait a minute. I came in here with nothing and I was able to hold my ground. These students are surviving with me, and everything is cool and collect. There is no disturbance in the peace. The students are I don't want to say maybe that they were thriving, perhaps in my eyes that they were, but they were definitely surviving under the circumstance. And so I was thinking to myself, well, then who best fit in this position other than myself? So yes, I will apply. And so I did, and yet I didn't get the position. Now, here's the deal. The vice principal came in, wanted to explain to me why I didn't get the position. And here's the deal. When he was trying to explain to me, I didn't want to hear it. I was like, I don't need to hear it. If I'm not fit for the position, I understand I understand that you had someone else in mind. And he really was trying to push to explain to me, well, hold on, let me explain. And, again, at that point I was young. I was certified at 22, stayed with my kids until they were school age, my first 3. And so I was gosh, just around the early years in my 30s. And so in my head, having again have no experience in really truly covering a class, you know, for that long period of time with a curriculum, I basically was teaching in whatever I could. And he's trying to explain this to me, you know, that we found someone that could perhaps really take this where we need it to go. I didn't have it in my spirit to really take that in and accept that. It was really my pride that had gotten to me. And so, you know, and I can accept that now, but you know, when he was trying to explain to me, I didn't want to hear it. And yet I should have. Because it would have saved me some time. I should have looked at it as a blessing. I was not prepared. Honestly, after I came home and thought about it and was able to find the humility with myself in silence, I was grateful that I did not get the position, because in the back of my head, as strong as I am, I started to go, whoa, I better be prepared to get this position, because then I have to start again next week. And what do I have planned next week that we haven't already covered? You know, all of a sudden I'm like, I don't know what I would be doing for the rest of the year if I got this position. I just wanted the position because I applied for something. I just wanted to win. And now, looking so many years down the road, I ask like crazy. Many, many times I will act like I don't know, because people are rich with knowledge. And whether they are right or wrong, you get to have discernment to decide what is true to you, what you want to be true, and what you want to be affected by. That's that power of strength within, to know what type of influences you want in your life. And so now I listen more. I ask more. And I'm really, you know, all my life I've always been hungry for knowledge, but now I'm not afraid to say, ooh, I don't know, or pretend I don't know so you could feed me more. Because when a person is, you know, even if you're full, if you say you're hungry, someone's going to feed you something. And so in that case, you have to take that into life, you know, all the time. Okay, you didn't get it this time. Then figure out, well, what am I going to do to get it next time? And if you don't get it, wait, hold on. You're just going to get stronger every time. I can honestly tell you, I have the mentality now that when I leave my classroom or as a parent, I say to myself, if not me, then who? That is my motto for myself, because again, you could call me arrogant. I'm okay with that. But in my mind, I have put so much, you know, of me into my life, of whatever role I've taken, whether it be a wife, a teacher, or a parent. I have no guilt for whatever seemingly is a mistake in other people's eyes, because it is the makeup, it is what is being reaped out, you know, what is being harvested from what you've sown in, that I can look back and go, you can't say though that did not end up coming, you know, that what has culminated from that had nothing to do with my strength and my efforts to put in there. Now, however someone decides to go forth in life from aside from what you've put in, that's on them. Because again, I can't blame my parents for whatever decisions I've made. I know that the foundation that was built had to have come from some strength, because I know that's within me to have it, that has then evolved into who I was made to become. And that is how you have to look at life, is you have to look at the forces of nature. In this case, be that wind catcher to go, how can I make this into a friend instead of a foe, where I am not spent, I am not exhausted from trying to fight against it all the time. Because in the back of your head, you're going to be defeated already. You're going to already say, you know what, this next wind coming through is going to beat me just like the other one, and I'm going to fall. I'm going to end up being too tired, and guess what, I'm never going to get to my goal. You've already been so used to fighting against the forces against you that you have all of a sudden prepared yourself to lose, to actually not gain anything from it other than a tired body, mind, and spirit, and broken heart. And don't be that. So my message for today, really with the F equals M times A, is know that you can work with the force, so that you are not only going in the direction that pushes you to where you would like to go, but when you are working against those who deem to be your enemies, they won't say they're your enemies. Some of them will say they're trying to help you, whatever it may be, but you know that they are not good for you. You know how that is, to know your inner circle versus your outer circle, trying to get into your walls. Work with them. Let them use up that energy to push you to where you need to go. And whether you got to outsmart the situation to go, hold on, I'm going to use your efforts to get me there. So if someone is trying to take your job, or that, that they're saying that you won't get it, guess what? Quietly work on preparing so that you will be that one person who is more than prepared, who is more than the others who are willing to put in the work. Why is it that throughout globally right now there are people who are taking in the jobs that you thought you should have gotten? Someone's willing to put in more time. Elon Musk stated, I believe, you got to be willing to put in 60 to 80 hours and so forth. If someone is saying, I'm willing to do more, they should be fit for that job and not you. You've got to be real with yourself. Same thing as that day that I did not get that position. I finally came to the realization and was grateful quietly to myself, that I did not get that position because I honestly was not fit for it at that given moment. Now, beyond. I'm thinking to myself, I prepared myself more than enough to come into a classroom and carry anything. But at the same time, back then, no. It was just my pride and my principle that made me feel like I should have gotten it. Same thing as any promotion. Work for it. When I knew that I was not going to end up climbing another, ladder to get to another promotion because a master's degree was holding me back, got the master's degree. You have to say to yourself, what's holding back? And if you identify it, then use that force to go, okay, well, let me work with it. Let me work with it so that I can get there. Now there's no reason why I shouldn't. Okay. And then keep going to get to that destiny. Arrive to it and know how you're going to get there. Be that wind catcher. Use that force so that you're going with it, not against it. You want that life. I tell my students now, you want that life, you want that car, you want that lifestyle, then start planning today. Ask yourself what you're going to do to get there. And then when you get there, you're going to look back and go, wow, all I had to do is actually check off the list and get there. When I graduated at the age of 22, I took summer classes. I took summer classes because I knew for myself, I was not going to be able to afford this for another year by just going regularly. I had 2 of my classmates who graduated with me from high school, whose parents were actually professors, who did not even have to pay a fraction of a cost that I would have had to pay when I was in college. And yet they did not graduate the same time with me when I graduated from college. Now, mind you, they didn't have to pay as much, but they took time off. They were at ease with their life because they perhaps decided I could afford to idle. I said to myself, nope. Let the force be with me. I don't care how exhausted I am. I'm going to get this done. Not only did I finish my 4-year degree, but I also finished my teaching degree at the same time because I said to myself, what else am I going to do with my life? What, take summers off so that I can regret not having taken these courses? I actually contemplated that. So now when I look back, yeah, the grit and the grind was there. It was exhausting. In fact, when I graduate, I didn't care to invite anyone. Give me my certificate. I'm done. Let me just move on to what's next. And that is how you have to go with life. Just keep catching that wind. Be a wind catcher. You can do it. Never, ever give up. You have it in you. Don't use anybody else to make you feel lower because no one is above you. It is in your mindset to believe that you belong where you want to arrive. But you have got to put yourself in the position so you can arrive to that destiny. So with that said, God bless us all. Keep loving you, keep doing you. Never ever say to yourself that you won't get there. Otherwise, you've already gone in the wrong direction. May the force be with you.